So we have an auspicious day today. Bethany, you stole my thunder just a little when you said that it was our last service here this morning. How many folks in the house, and by the way, you were talking about increasing attendance. We have each and every Sunday, we have more than 150 to 200 homes that are with us. So I'm asking you out in the ethers to raise your hand, and I'm asking you in the house, how many of you have attended UVC since 1975 when we first occupied? How many of you have been attending since 1949 when we were over in the administration building? Do you see the jaws drop? I know there are people still on the planet who attended in 1949. So we're going backwards a little bit on our history walk this morning. I want to honor all of the places and all of the ways that Unity Village Chapel has shown up. 1922, was anybody around then? Oh, that'd be 101. Well, God bless you if you're 101 and you were around in 1922, because our group, spiritual group, started meeting in a building known as the Clubhouse down by the pool. They met there for 7 years, which is, of course, a perfect metaphysical number for completion on an earthly realm. And in 1929, we moved, I'm trying to get my bearings here, we moved to what used to be known as the Silent Unity Building, and then it was known as the Education Building, and now it's known by a building number. But it was called the Silent Unity Building. That was 1929, and at that point, we named ourselves the Unity Community Society. Very lyrical. 20 years later, so 7 years, 20 years, 20 years later, we went over to the administration building in 1949, and there we became known as Unity Village Chapel. Perfect. Yes, UVC. 26 years later, moved into this space. It was a new building in 1975, is that right, Mark? And we dedicated this building. It was known as the Activities Center, and it will now be known by some person's name who very generously donated a couple truckloads of money, and so we're naming this building after that person, and I apologize, I don't know their name, but I am blessing you. 48 years we've been here. 48 years. For those of you that raised their hands, 48 years, wowza. That's almost 5 decades, right? And we are relocating next week, Palm Sunday, which is such a cool Sunday. I love to talk about Easter, so I could be very easily distracted, and I will reel myself back in. So next Sunday, Palm Sunday, we are moving that way to the other end of campus to a chapel known as the Atrium Chapel, formerly known as the Silent Unity Chapel. And Mark, at the end of the service today, Reverend Mark Fuss, who is with Unity World Headquarters, and he will lead us in blessing this space. And then we'll have a walking pilgrimage. Mark and Mark, I should change my name to Mindy, right? Mark and Mindy will lead us on foot over to the Atrium Chapel, and some of you may want to take your cars over there. So do we have a lead volunteer that will be the flag car? Linda Chapel? Yeah. Will you just wave your tie-dye shirt out your window on the way over there? So look for the tie-dye if you want to drive over there. And Linda, what do you drive? I saw it. A SUV, black SUV, and it has a Spirit Works decal. So that all happens after I impart some wisdom here this morning, okay? Now, here's the deal. The reason I took that time to walk through our physical history of Unity Village Chapel is to acknowledge not only our history, but the energy of this community over the years. Because consider this, it's not necessarily the space, the physical space that we're in that energizes us. It is we who bring the energy to the space. Can I get an amen? So we are in the midst, Bethany mentioned it, we are in the midst of a prosperity series. It's based on this book. The author's name is Tosha Silver, and the title is It's Not Your Money. Kind of has some attitude in the title. It's not your money. It's like, not your money. So we're working with this concept, and this week's topic happens to be energetic clearing. Do you think there's a God or what? What a perfect Sunday to be talking about energetic clearing. So we will clear ourselves from this space with a sacred blessing. And in the meantime, let's talk about this space, where we've been and what we've contributed. How many, I tried to guess, what do you think, over 25 years, like tens of thousands of people have darkened these doors and have been in this space? And certainly the ministers who have served Unity Village Chapel over the last 25 years have contributed mightily to the energy. Does anybody have sadness, remorse about leaving this physical space? Anybody feeling kind of attached about that? Does anybody come each Sunday and sit in the very same seat every week? You do not. I thought you were usually over here. Oh, Mark says he does. I don't know if I believe it. Anybody else? Yeah. We have attachments to our seats, for crying out loud. So before we leave the building today, please bless your seat. These seats are probably going away, aren't they? Yeah. I don't know where they're going, but let's bless them on their spiritual journey. We have attachments. We have attachments to familiar and comfortable. And Ms. Silver has a wonderful quote. It's actually in her abundance prayer, and it goes like this: we let go what needs to go, and we let come what needs to come. So those of us, and maybe some others, because it's spring, those of us who are participating in the prosperity class have been doing clearing, yes? Like clearing stuff from our homes. Some of us have been recirculating clothing, furniture, appliances, kitchen gadgets, kitchen stuff, books. Oh, that's hard. Papers, just clearing stuff. We're clearing stagnant energy. Have you ever stopped just in a room in your home? Have you ever stopped and looked around and thought, man, this is a lot of stuff? I remember when I first started hanging out with my now spouse of 30 some many years. He had a roommate, and we were sitting outside talking one day, and Dennis said, I can get my entire life in 16 boxes or less. And I thought to myself, that's really an accomplishment, isn't it? Anybody here get your life in 16 boxes or less? So we look around and we think, do I love that? Here's how it goes when I help Reverend Erin with clearing at her house. I'll hold something up and say, this has got to go. And she'll say, but my friend Susie gave that to me. I'm like, we love Susie. We bless her. We appreciate her. We can take a picture of this object if you like, but it's going. Right? So we look around and we just ask ourselves, do I love it? Does it bring me joy to look at it and see it? Do I use it? Oh, here's a good one. Attics and basements. How many of us, and be truthful, how many of us have stuff in our attic, basement, or garage that is broken? Bill Graham, I'm talking to you. That's my spouse. Stuff that we're going to fix. We can fix that. Stuff that just simply doesn't work. Well, I just invite you to be with that object. Get truthful with yourself. A, do I know how to fix it? B, am I motivated to fix it? C, am I telling myself the truth about this? Am I really going to fix that? Because when we clear out stuff, and it may not necessarily be broken or not working, but when we clear out stuff, we're putting into action the law of circulation, which was mentioned in our announcements. We must be, our co-founders, Murdy and Charles Fillmore, taught us, we must be an inlet and an outlet of God's good, of energy. That is how we continue to evolve and to thrive. So as you consider the clearing, ask yourself some questions about that. And some of us know that when we start this clearing process, it can have a huge metaphysical impact, right? We're just dealing with stuff out there, and all of a sudden, from the 2x4 in the back of our heads, we're like, oh, wow, I thought I had forgotten about that incident or that relationship or that person. And I'm here to tell you that whatever rises to the surface, whomever rises to the surface, it's ready to be healed. Yes? And when we're clearing this energy, a common phrase is we clear out stuff to make room for God's good. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, sometimes, yes, God's good, that's a loose definition. Sometimes I think we clear stuff just to create spaciousness. Just to see space. Have you ever cleaned off a desktop? I forgot this desk was walnut. Right? So sometimes it's just about creating spaciousness out there, and that certainly helps us create spaciousness from within. Spaciousness, less projects, less stuff. Oh, how about spaciousness in our activity calendar? Could anybody go for a little wiggle room there? How about relationships? Tosha Silver talks about being stuck in attachment to relationships and people. And she calls, in this chapter, she calls them unneeded psychic cords. So I'm curious to know how many of us have had the experience of letting go of relationships. People. I mean, it doesn't have to be a, one-on marriage, really intimate relationship, but just letting go of people, letting go of relationships. Some of it might not have been our vote, our choice, yes. Some of it might be through a separation, through a divorce, through a disagreement, and I would wager my firstborn that most of us have had the experience of processing attachment when a beloved leaves the planet. Yes, sometimes that can be a very deep and lengthy process. How many of us have the experience of having hung on to a relationship, a friendship, that wasn't necessarily on the best ground anymore? Wasn't necessarily so healthy. Sometimes two different people might evolve at a different level or at a different pace. You know, I realized that after I got deeply involved in Unity in, I think, the 80s. I just realized one day, kind of looking over my shoulder, wow, I don't really hang out with so-and-so or so-and-so or so-and-so anymore. And it wasn't like there was any big breakup. It was just like, I'm not in that place anymore. I'm in a different place in consciousness. This could be tricky territory, you know, that hanging on business, particularly after we have some inkling or some realization that the relationship might not be that healthy. We have a lot of ways of keeping in touch, don't we? Stalking on social media. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands here. Stalking on social media, just simply staying in touch on social media. An invitation to get together, pining for lost love. We may not have had contact with them for some time, but oh my gosh, aren't we still attached? Ruminating over what they did to us. What they did to us, what they said to us, how they wronged us. Ruminating over our unhealed wounds. Ruminating over our anger. The habit of hanging on, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, can be really toxic. And that's what Silver talks about with these psychic cords. So who among us, out in the ethers and in this space, who among us is willing to look at some of these cords and do some releasing? Who among us might even be in a hurry? Yeah, me too. Might be in a hurry to take a look at those. So today, we're going to offer an opportunity in our meditation time. There's a specific meditation in this book that I will share with you. And what we're going to be looking at internally are the conscious and not so conscious attachments. These emotional cords are formed through family systems, yes. They're formed through the education system, through societal expectations. And Silver tells us that they're attached most often to three particular chakras. The root chakra, which is the very base of our spine, that's our grounding energy center. And the chakra behind the navel, and the chakra behind the solar plexus. The chakra behind the navel is our survival and creativity center, and I thought to myself, wow, I don't know what's there yet. I'm working on it, I'm looking at it, and I just wonder what that will feel like to really, truly open up and unblock the creativity center. And then the chakra behind our solar plexus is our power center. I'm going to share, before we go into meditation, I'm going to share 4 steps that Silver writes about. So some of you might want to make a note of that. So our first step, naturally, is to dedicate ourselves, to commit to doing energetic clearing. And as we make that commitment, it's so fascinating because we begin to notice that Spirit is in the midst. Like, God's got this. I am being led and directed in this exercise. Make a commitment and know that Spirit is in the midst. Number 2, we set our sacred intention for wholeness, for well-being, for deep peace of mind, for freedom, whatever it will mean to you as we do our energetic clearing. Step number 3, here I am. We truly, deeply, fully open ourselves to what may come. Let go what must go, and let come what must come. And one of my favorite prayers, create in me a pure heart. Let me see clearly. I think it was last week or the week before, Reverend Erin mentioned, or maybe it was in class, she mentioned one of my favorite scriptures in Corinthians, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we shall see clearly. I love that. Step 4, honor our instincts in this process. There's nothing to push or work or tackle. We simply will be turning within and curious about what comes up, who comes up. So we honor that. We honor that is divine mind at work in us. So those are our 4 steps. And as we settle into our sacred time, rearrange the furniture again. As we settle into our sacred time, once again, I invite you to allow yourself to become as comfortable as possible, right where we are. Remind yourself that we live in a friendly universe. Perhaps we begin with a complete breath. We begin with our commitment to a process of energetic clearing. We notice that we are willing to be directed, led, guided, prodded by Spirit within. We notice that our hearts are opening to the experience, to the freedom, to the well-being. And we notice that whatever comes up is right and perfect for us in this now moment. Allow yourself to sense bubbling up within your being someone to whom you feel corded, attached, bound. Let's give that a moment and simply notice our breath, the activity of Spirit within us, and with inquiring minds, we become still and we wait. Who is rising up in our consciousness? It could be someone from your past or someone present in your life today. Trust that whomever shows up is the right one for this moment. We've been storing this attachment, this corded energy in consciousness and in our physical body. And at this point, we may even notice in a physical sense where that cord feels attached. At the base of our spine, behind our navel, our solar plexus. Is there any physical indication of where that might be? We behold this person. We have a snapshot of our experiences with them. And we give to them gratitude. And we look them in the heart and we say to them, we are complete now. We are complete. I am re-owning my connection to truth. I have my holy connection with Source. I deserve to live in a state of abundance, a state of freedom, a state of being enough. I deserve to be free, and I deserve to be peace. And so we say to our higher power, I now remove this cord between us at every level of consciousness. Maybe breathe into this moment, this awareness, this gentle nudge. I now remove this cord between us at every level of consciousness. And from our third eye imagination center, we see ourselves actually removing the cord. It might be untying a knot. It might be putting our physical hand on the cord and then opening and releasing. We might be cutting the cord. And if it's spiritually necessary, we might be burning the cord, dissolving it into the ethers. And again, we give our gratitude to this person, gratitude that they were a part of our spiritual journey. There are no accidents in creation. We know that there is purpose, and that there is good, and that there is awareness. There is evolution of consciousness because we were in relationship with this person. We are complete. This cord is no longer running our system. It's no longer blocking any energy in us. It is opening the flow of circulation as we become the flow. We look into the spaciousness with so much energy and emotion moving in us. We look into the spaciousness. I see you. I feel you. Even though the spaciousness might feel terrifying, it might feel exhilarating, might feel very curious or odd. We invite that spaciousness in for tea. We say, come sit. Come sit with me and allow my breath to feel this space. Allow my mind, body, spirit to see it, to feel it, to be present to it. And so we sit in the presence, with the presence, as the presence in our spaciousness. We sit and we say, here I am. Here I am. Create in me a pure, pure heart. As we sit, we let the love wash over us. We let the peace wash over us. We bless our freedom. We bless our spaciousness. We bless our abundance. And we embrace our enoughness. We let go what needs to go. And we are fully open to what is to come. Always giving thanks. Always, always, always giving thanks. And so it is. Namaste.